If they ain't cooking, I don't want it.
What is up, everybody? It is your favorite podcaster. It is your boy DT Sensei. We are back with another episode of the Ins and Out E podcast. Yes, indeed. Thank you for all the subscribers, all the content that I've been producing lately. Been definitely putting in some work, especially this year, to stand alone and try to push myself a little bit more. But without question, this is definitely April. We are in the middle of April right now. The NFL draft is literally 2 weeks away from Thursday night on the 24th, goes to the 26th. And I'm very excited for this process as the boards start to align a little bit for some of these teams, some of the player visits, top 30 visits and stuff. And of course, some of the rumors are going to go crazy next couple of days. Just seen some developing news out of New Orleans. So keeping all that stuff in mind. But most definitely, I'm very excited for this NFL draft this year because it's a lot of unknowns and it's going to be probably some players that we didn't expect to go in the first round. They will go in the first round. So this episode, this will be the full teams, as in all 32 teams. I will do all 32 teams, their first round mock. Now I will um possibility I will do a couple of trades based on how I feel something will happen. But without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get started. This will be the big mock for all 32 teams. So I'll just give my uh a little assessment of how I feel about these teams and the direction they'll go. It'll be based on information I've seen from the teams overall based on their needs and possibly going best player available at those certain spots. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I do use PFF majority of the time when it comes to the NFL draft. I do tend to use other ones as well, based on the trading metrics and things. But um, this is everybody's favorite mock uh, up here, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. All right, so pick number one for the Tennessee Titans. Um, at first, obviously, they didn't do a lot at one position. I think we know what all we're talking about. Will Levis last year was a starting quarterback for Brian Callahan and his offense, and there was a lot of ups and downs for this team. So obviously, I think they need to start off and find the face of the franchise for this team. So without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and knock out the first pick. With the first pick in this draft, Cam Ward will be the one selected for the Tennessee Titans. He is QB1 for me in this NFL draft. All right, so here comes the next couple of picks, which is very interesting, I would say. Um, when it comes to Cleveland, the Deshaun Watson trade has not panned out whatsoever. The guarantee money that they paid for him has not panned out. They are in somewhat of a deficit. On the offensive line was banged up last year. Um, they're in need of some weapons. They're in need of uh some certain spots overall. Also need a running back. Nick Chubb is still a free agent. I assume. I think he still is free agent. Last time I checked. But when you're talking about Cleveland, they're a team that I necessarily don't see them addressing quarterback this early, based on the fact of what Kevin Skanasky has done over the past couple of years without elite talent at quarterback. So I am going to go the route of them taking the best player overall in the NFL draft, and that will be Travis Hunter. I have Travis Hunter going to the Cleveland Browns. And now, as you can see, trade offers are starting to pile up for the New York Giants. And yeah, so my NFC East rivals, the New York Giants. Have they have been searching far and wide for a quarterback. And obviously, one of the biggest ties to this franchise in terms of the quarterbacks they looked at this offseason has been the son of Deion Primetime Sanders, and that is Shedeur Sanders. But if we're talking about just the overall talent, and for those that seen my video when I assessed the top two quarterbacks this year, obviously Shedeur, being real, does not have something that will pop off on tape, but he plays the position effectively. I just don't see them. Now, let me reframe that. I do see a world where Shedeur Sanders is taking 3 because at the end of the day, the Giants need a quarterback of the future. I just don't see it at 3. So I'm going to take the most talented edge rusher in this class, and that will be Abdul Carter to add to their front seven with Dexter Lawrence, with Brian Burns. They were one of the top teams in pressure rate last year and getting to the quarterback. They just got even better. They got a blue chip guy to go on their front seven for a team that plays in the NFC East against the Commanders, against the Eagles, and against the Dallas Cowboys. So they have been missing this guy, so they're going to take Abdul Carter right here. Now that leaves, unfortunately for the Patriots, right here. They're a team that overall just need talent as well. And you look who's left on the board. While I do understand Ted McMillan, Mason Graham, especially on the defensive front, I would probably have to choose between the defensive line and offensive line. And you drafted a quarterback last year and Drake May, who showed definitely a big amount of flashes. You got to protect his blind side. And the Patriots were trying very hard to address the offensive line. And to address it, definitely use some of that premium talent. After Will Campbell, I don't care what his arm length say, he's one of the best offensive linemen in this draft. So they get a guy to protect his blind side. Then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars. This team has definitely been up and down the past couple of years with Trevor Lawrence at quarterback. Can't see a scenario where they do add another wide receiver somewhere, but I think it's too high currently right now. They got to add some defensive line talent, and I think Mason Graham right here makes the most sense. So I'm going Mason Graham to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And now at pick number 6, we have the Las Vegas Raiders. And I don't know, every time I see the Raider logo, I keep trying to refrain myself from saying Oakland. I'm so used to saying Oakland, but that's another story. The Raiders are also in a position where they traded for Geno Smith. They have Pete Carroll as their head coach. I don't see this team as a rebuild team. I see this team that's going to try to compete and open up their window, I say. Like, their defense was, to me, pretty solid. Max Crosby was dinged up at times. They need to add some talent in the skill position group for Geno. Brock Bowers, he was one of the best rookies last year overall. Had one of the best, actually the best rookie season for a tight end. And the guy has some playmakers. And we know what Pete Carroll is. He comes from, when he had the days of Seattle, when he had a Marshawn Lynch. Now let's go ahead and enter Ashton Jeanty in Las Vegas. He does not have to move that far. So I have Ashton Jeanty going to the Las Vegas Raiders. Did I say Oakland or Las Vegas? I don't even know. All right, so here's the other pick with the Jets. So the Jets are interesting because while they do have Justin Fields, I still don't think that will probably stop them from getting a quarterback. Now, I do believe they have an interest in one of the quarterbacks. Um, would they pull the trigger here? They can, but I think for them, they just need to add. They need to add O line talent, man. They need to add O line talent. They invested last year in um Olu Fashanu in the top five picks, I believe. You lost Morgan Moses. Um, there's still some things on that roster that need to be added, especially after they were trying to go all in with you know, a guy like Aaron Rodgers who, even though it didn't look good, he still, when you look at the numbers, it was a pretty solid season for any other quarterback. You look at the offensive line; they have Olufashanu, uh, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, Oliver Tucker, and Carter Warren starting at right tackle. Oh yeah, that's definitely definite. Um, we are gonna go ahead and get Armbar Membu. He will be drafted by the New York Jets. Sorry, Carter Warren. No disrespect for you. You do have a last name that is of kin, but I think it just makes total and complete sense for them to add a guy at the left or the right side, I would say, for the offensive line to protect Justin Fields on both sides of the football. All right. Next up, we have the Carolina Panthers. Hopefully, Josh does not watch this when I do this. So, I like what Carolina has done a little bit this off season. I think the biggest thing for them that they have consistently said has been we need defense. We need defense. We need defense. And I know that looking at this, I think an edge rusher just makes complete amount of sense for this team or any type of defensive player. So looking at this team, we're gonna go ahead and look at if it was me, I'm looking at edge rushers and I'm looking at linebackers. Why? Because you have a guy, Jalen Walker, who is widely loved out of everybody in the community in the NFL circles, I would say. So I'm gonna go with Jalen Walker, the eighth pick in his draft. And now here's a developing story right now when it comes to New Orleans. So apparently, Derek Carr shoulder is kind of dinged up, and there are some questions about him starting um, this season. Um, that's not good at all. That's not a good at all. And to be quite honest with you, the Saints need a lot of pieces. They're getting older. They should have been had this rebuild. Um, and this could be where they address quarterback. This could be where they not address quarterback. Now, when I look at other spots right here, okay, why is Shador Sanders? Okay, Shador is 47. I was about to say, I was like, I put running back and quarterback at the same thing. I was like, why does it have Shador Sanders at the running back? That's wild. But I'm going to be completely honest, man. They can go a lot of places, and I would not be mad with them where they would go. To be quite honest with you, they could go O line. They could go uh wide receiver to add with a Chris Olave. They could go defensive line, edge rusher. Like they have a multiple of ways of going to certain spots. Now, man, this is crazy. This is really crazy, man. I honestly don't know what to get them. I honestly don't know what to get them, man. They need a lot. You know what? I think we just gotta go with guts and be completely honest. Just looking at the overall players right now, um, there is also a world where this guy could go way before, and I mean way before. Um, it's really a world, man, that Jackson Dart could go before Shedeur Sanders, and I believe it too. Like that's how insane it is. But you know what? I'm gonna do it. If we're talking about strategically the best fits overall at the quarterback position, it just makes too much sense in terms of what they want to do for Shedeur Sanders to be a New Orleans Saint. And I will say this because necessarily they don't have to force their hand and draft a quarterback this year based on how weak it is. They could get other players. They can go with Spencer Rattler at quarterback. They could go ahead and get some assets, try to fix their cap situation, and go about their day. But it's crazy, man. I just don't. I just think it makes sense. So now here we are with the Chicago Bears. Chicago has fixed an investor in the offensive line to protect Caleb Williams. Caleb Williams will be with Ben Johnson. Um, I think the best thing will be for the would be to address the defensive interior and also look at the running back position. DeAndre Swift is a good running back, but he's not someone that I would depend on 24/7 in the route of the game. I think he needs to be a guy that needs to get touches. I would say touch the football in the passing game and in the running game. So to me, it's between the interior defensive line and running back. We're going to have these two divisions lined up right here. And I'm not going to lie, though. I kind of find it funny that um, Graham has really gone that late in the draft, and I get it. So, hmm, this is also an interesting pick. They also need an edge rusher too, if we're keeping stuff a buck. They need an edge rusher too. So let's go ahead and look at edges. Cause so the top guy on the board would be a Mike Green. Um I think honestly I would go best player available right here, man. To me it would be Mike Green, Kenneth Grant, or Omarion Hampton. But based on how deep the edge is, I don't think they necessarily have to get uh a dynamic guy on the other side of Montez Sweat. Um, I think we're going to help the quarterback a little bit, take so much pressure on him, and we're going to have two running backs in the top 10. We're going to have Mario Hampton being drafted by the Chicago Bears. Now, he could definitely go a little bit higher than that. We'll definitely see. All right, next up we have, yes, we have the 49ers. 49ers have been overchanged and they have a lot of needs, especially specifically at the offensive line. You're going to have Brock Purdy. He's going to be looking for some money. Um, we're going to go ahead and check this out. I think, or say, let's be completely honest. At that tackle position, I just feel as though they need someone who could play right now. So let's go ahead and give them Kelvin Banks, tackle out of Texas, to add to the offensive line. And then eventually, when, ooh, excuse me, especially when, Trent Williams decided to hang it up, he could shift to the left side. Uh, I think there's a no brainer pick right here for the Dallas Cowboys. Um, this will be a home run pick for them. Now, I do see where they could take Matthew Golden as well, but I think there's draft fatigue for a lot of teams, and I think Ted McMillan fall into the Dallas Cowboys for your travesty. But Ted McMillan will be drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. All right. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins. Miami is in an interesting position. They also have some O line needs. I think it will be a little bit high for some of them. Interior defensive line needs as well, and corner need. So he's the best player on this board right now. Let's go ahead and give them Jahdae Barron out of Texas to go in their secondary. Here we have the top need for the Colts tight end, and Rumble, young man Rumble. We have Tyler Warren going, and I mean going, to the Indianapolis Colts. His colors are not going to change as much, just be a little bit of a brighter blue. All right, next up we have the Atlanta Falcons, a team that has not cared about the edge rushers whatsoever, at all, at all. So with that being said, we're going to end that curse. Enter Mike Green, edge rusher, out of Marshall. He will be Atlanta Falcon. And here we have the, I don't know what that was. I don't know where that came from. Here we have, at pick 16, we have the Arizona Cardinals. Guard, defensive line, and cornerback. Let me go ahead and check out their roster real quick. Because they did address a lot of the defensive line needs. They were considering trying to get Jonathan Allen. Um, let's see, wide receivers. Oh, okay, it's a little outside of Marvin Harrison, who I expect to have a bounce back year. You have Michael Wilson. Um, O line could be addressed. Edge rusher could be addressed. Well, they did sign Josh Sweat. They have BJ Ojolari. They have Baron Browning, who they traded for. Darius Robinson. So they definitely addressed some of the needs on defense. They could go corner, possibly. I think they like their safety room with Buda Baker and Jalen Thompson. Calais Campbell's a little bit long in the tooth. Not gonna lie, that could be something where they address the defensive line. Um, but they would need a guy that is more of a 3-4 and based on their defense. You know what? I think this is my opinion. The way they use this kid at Texas A&M, I can see a world where it makes complete amount of sense where he goes to Arizona Cardinals. So I have Shamar Stewart being drafted by the Arizona Cardinals. You get a guy like Calais Campbell who's been there, done that. Teach that young man the game, use him as a rotation because Calais Campbell don't got long. And yes, they could have a drafted corner, and things of that nature, but I think for me it just makes a clear amount of sense. All right, at pick 17, we have the Cincinnati Bengals, who I'm just gonna go ahead and go to defense overall, bro. They were getting gashed overall on defense. And with that being said, I am gonna go ahead and give them Kenneth Graham, defensive tackle out of Cincinnati, to go on their defensive front. Um, they gotta stop people. Now, could they also go edge rusher as well? It's a possibility, but looking at what they did in terms of the interior, I'm gonna pull it up here real quick. They did invest a pick in Chris Jenkins. They did sign T.J. Sladen, but if we being real, Kenneth Graham's way better than Chris Jenkins, his former teammate, and you want to get as much pressure on the quarterback in this draft. So especially in the interior. So I think that would be a big value move for them. It's probably a little bit early in that sake, but we'll go with it. All right, so at pick 18, we have the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle signs Sam Darnold this offseason. They lost a lot of pieces as well. Looking at their wide receiver room, they have Cooper Kupp, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Sam Darnold. Man, offensive line wise, they have Charles Cross. Left guard could be something they address. Center, ooh man. So I'll tell you what. We're gonna go ahead and give him another weapon. We're gonna give them Matthew Golden, wide receiver, to go with Jackson Smith and Jigba. Give Sam Darnold some targets. If he's gonna be the quarterback over there, we gotta give him some help. All right, at pick 19, we are here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay, we beat them in the playoffs last year in the first round. They bring back pretty much majority of their offense from last year. Really, nothing has changed. Now the defense could probably be where they need to address things. Edge rusher could be something they need to address to go with Yaya Diaby. Last year, Kalijah Cansey was injured majority of the season. Linebacker could be something as well. And look at the defensive backs you have: Tony Winfield, Zion McCullum, uh, Jamal Dean, who has suffered injuries year in year out, and then you have Tyke Smith. Hmm. This would be interesting. This will be interesting. I'm not even going to lie. Says edge. So I think I will look at the edge market. I think it's really going to be a rush on edge, man. I think you get Yaya Diaby with Donovan Izraku, and he's already stand up in. I have Donovan Izraku going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to add pressure to help out that defense. All right, at pick 20, here we are with the dare I say the Denver Broncos. Um so two running backs went off the board. I don't see them trying to reach. Wide receivers are still there for them at certain spots. And Denver is an interesting team. They did have Bo Nix, who was one of the best rookie quarterbacks last year, but he wasn't the best, if you know what I mean. Uh, Looking at the offense, they added some weapons. I think the one position obviously will be running back. Two running backs went off the board. They're definitely going to have to address that in the second round. They have Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, Rashawn Veve as a slot wide receiver. Wide receiver could be something they add. The defense returns majority of their starters. Uh, Ty Hufunga, and they have Brandon Jones at safety. Safety could be something they add. Interior defensive line. They could add. Hmm. Well, if you want to, if we want to be completely honest, I definitely see where Luther Burden is definitely better than Devon Veve. And I know they drafted Franklin last year, but you can never have many weapons. So Luther Burden will be a Denver Bronco. Here we have with Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh. Mm-mm-mm. Pittsburgh Steelers go to their roster. Obviously, they need a quarterback. Don't know nothing about what's going on with Aaron Rodgers holding people up. Uh, O line, they definitely invested in that spot last year. Don't see them addressing early. They could definitely draft a running back. I think it'll be a little bit too early for them. Now let's look at the defense. Defensive line intact. They have Darius Slay and they have Joey Porter Jr. and they have Deshaun Elliott as safety. I think this is definitely where we head to the value rounds. And to be honest, if it was me, they got to fix the quarterback position, man. It will be an overdraft, but I'm going to go ahead and take Jackson Dart. He'll be the third quarterback off the board. All right, here we are at pick 22. Here we are at pick 22 with the Los Angeles Chargers. All right, as we can see, Justin Herbert returns. Najee Harris will be starting running back. Mike Williams, Quentin Johnson, Lad McConkey. O line is solid. But is there something that could be added to this team? Something that be added to this team, let's be completely honest, it should be tight end. So With that being said, second tight end on the board will be Colston Loveland, will be reunited with, and I mean really with, Harbaugh. All right, Green Bay Packers are here at pick 23. Go wide receiver, edge rusher, cornerback, and looks who just happens to fall all the way down here. Now, obviously, I could have had this guy come off the board to a lot of multiple teams. Um, but I don't see him falling this far. But we're going to go ahead and give him Will Johnson since there's been a lot of chatter about um, Jair Alexander up in Green Bay. So enter Jair Alexander will be entering out more than likely. We have Will Johnson. All right, at pick 24, we're going to go with the Minnesota Vikings. Minnesota Vikings. Let's go ahead and go to Minnesota real quick. Actually, let me look at Green Bay. Make sure I'm not tripping. Okay, so look, yeah, Jair, and then on the opposite side, you have Nixon. Yeah, okay, so that would be a slam dunk pick for Green Bay. Now, with the Vikings, though, the Vikings are interesting because they're going to be having J.J. McCarthy, well, like starting. You have Aaron Jones. You have Jordan Mason. Your offense looks crazy. You fix the interior. Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips, Javon Hargraves. That defensive line looks absolutely insane. But when you have somebody of this caliber to fall that far, and you also need a succession plan, I'm going to go with Malachi Starks will be drafted by the Minnesota Vikings. At pick 25, we have the Texans. We're just going to go straight to it, offensive line. They will be taking the best player available at that spot. We're going to go ahead and give them Josh Simmons, tackle out of the Ohio State University. Pick 26. Pick 26. The Rams are interesting, I would say. I think for them, it would be looking at who's best on the board right now. And I would actually say they should go with getting Jihan Campbell at pick 26 to add to their ferocious defense. Pick 27, Baltimore Ravens. Ravens could go guard, edge rusher, a defensive back. Based on what I see, I just think it makes completely a good amount of sense for a guy like James Pierce to go to the Baltimore Ravens. And now I know people question the character, but you go to Baltimore, you ain't got no choice but to be a dog and step into the line of light. At pick 28, we have the Detroit Lions, who defense was shattered by a lot of injuries last year. They're in need of that second tier guy to go alongside Hutchinson, who was still one of the leading sack leaders even after injury, breaking his leg. This could be a perfect landing spot for Mykel Williams based on the fact that he's still a raw player, but he can develop his moves because he's going to have a guy like Hutchinson drawing so much attention for them. So we're going to go with Mykel Williams at pick 28. All right, Washington Commanders. The Washington Commanders. Here we are. The needs obviously an edge rusher, running back, corner, and when I see for the Commanders right here, a lot of people talk about the trade opportunity to trade back. I think as we get through this process, I don't actually see them trying to trade back. I see them staying put and trying to take guys at that spot. And they have a way to address certain things, and they can go best player available. But it was me knowing that Terry has not really had the room that would help elevate the offense. I'm running the card in for Emeka Ibuka, wide receiver out of Ohio State. All right, here we are with the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo with MVP Josh Allen after his crazy season. Um, Look like they signed majority of their guys back on the defense, but the defense can be absolutely better. Have Joey Bosa alongside on the opposite end. Uh, Corners with Dane Jackson and Benford. Benford got paid big bucks. Man, if I'm being real, man, I think they go best player available and they add some meat to the core, drafting Walter Nolan on their defensive line. Here we have Kansas City Chiefs. Look, I'm not even going to play with these dudes, bro. These dudes need offensive line. So we're going to go ahead and look at the offensive line who is left and available. I'm going to give them Greg Zabel with versatility at his hands. They're going to add him to help protect Patrick Mahomes. And here we are at pick. Here you are with the Philadelphia Eagles. They are here at pick 32. Um, they can go many ways. They can go edge rusher. They can go interior defensive line, knowing they lost Milton Williams, knowing they lost Josh Sweat, knowing they also lost Darius Slay. So they need another guy on the outside, especially also Isaiah Rogers. So they can go best player available, man. But golly, I hate to go best player available for them. So for them, I think they are. Let me go back and look because I know they definitely draft ahead of time for these certain spots. They also just signed today a Terrence Marshall, which I mean that don't really move the needle, but you got Moro Orojo, you got Jordan Davis, you got Kalen Carter, you got Nolan Smith, you got Jackson Hunt. They could go edge rusher. They can go corner. They can go corner. But you know what, man? I hate to do this, but I'm gonna go with the best corner on the board because that is a spot where I just don't feel the need that they want to shift Cooper DeJean back outside. And I don't know how much faith they have in Keely Ringo. They do have Adoree Jackson, but that's more of a 1 year thing. Um, if it was me, I would go between Trey Amos. Dog, this is where it gets a little tough for Philadelphia because they can go so many ways. But part of me don't want me to get them a defensive lineman, man, but they always do this. So I'm gonna give them Nick Skirton, dog. Nick Skirton, he'll be their outside edge rusher, and that will complete the first round. All right, so this is my first round mock from 1 to 32, and I did not do any trades, so I'll probably do a trade next time when I do it. So you guys just let me know my thoughts. I will post this on Twitter. I'm probably gonna get a bunch of slander and stuff, but hey, look, bro, when you do mock drafts and stuff, you're gonna get slandered for anything. You're going to slander for anything. So don't sit up here and try to hide stuff. Like, embrace the heat, embrace the challenge. Sometimes you got to stir the pot a little bit. Sometimes you got to stir the pot and have some conversations. We're all tired. We all got draft fatigue. But go ahead, share me your thoughts on what you think about that first round mock. Um, I did it on the spot. I'll probably let me know you want me to do another one with trades. Um, I think that would be dope. But with all that being said, I'm definitely going to go ahead and run. You guys can catch me. Follow me on Twitter at DClooney Jr. Follow me on Instagram, DT_Sensei. Also follow the Ins and Out D podcast page on Instagram. I will see you guys next time. This is the Ins and Out D podcast with your boy DT. Catch y'all later.